This is from NPR. Trump claims expanded power over independent agencies. I appreciate the simple narrative from NPR, in all honesty, because what Trump did was he basically said the Constitution, Article 1 says the executive power is vested in the president. Congress at some point created independent agencies that they claim Trump has no authority over, despite the fact the Constitution says he has full authority over the executive branch. It is fascinating to me that right now the narrative is Trump just made a major power grab, as all the progressive organizations, because he issued an executive order saying federal agencies have to report to the Office of Management and Budget, and then we're going to supervise the things they're doing and the money they're spending.
This is a continuation, or it relates to something that we've been talking about, which is or at least my belief that I think most of the people around the table have said they kind of agree with, that Donald Trump is trying to get the authority back into the office of the presidency, the constitutional authority over the executive branch. So there's all these bureaucracies that have grown up underneath the cabinet ministers, underneath the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, all the cabinet, right? So they all have a bureaucracy. Each cabinet position has a bureaucracy underneath them, and in there it's full of people that can't get fired. Government employees never get fired because there are unions that protect them, which are absolutely abhorrent. There should be no public sector unions. Unions should not exist to work against the American people. The office of the president should have the authority to fire whoever he wants in the executive branch. So the executive branch it exists in order to carry out the laws written by Congress. Congress writes the laws, the president executes them. That's why it's the executive branch. He does have latitude in how they're executed, and that's why there are some rules that can be made in the executive branch, but all of the executive branch agencies, they've all become de facto legislators because the rules that they come up with have the force of law. And these are positions that right now it's difficult to fire people. And when I say difficult, almost impossible. So the point that Donald Trump is making with these kinds of moves is to get this question in front of the Supreme Court so he can have the backing of the court to say, no, the executive does have the authority to fire people. The executive does have the authority to decide how things are carried out. And this is vitally necessary because the executive, as in the president, is elected by the people. The bureaucracy is not. We hear people talk about things like the entrenched bureaucracy and the forever state and the government that doesn't go away. The bureaucracy has they have no obligation to listen to the people. There's some changes when a new executive comes in, but when the bureaucracy has been there for 20 years, 15, 20 years, they're not going to be all that concerned with a new administration. It's basically business as usual. That's why USAID has done all the things that it's done. That's why there's no changes at the FDA. That's why there's never any changes at the EPA. That's why the government's power only grows. So this is extremely important to get the power back to the elected official in the executive branch, because that's the way that the people can actually decide how they're governed.
Has the Congress for years been working towards making the executive branch less powerful by making these independent agencies?
I would call it anarcho-tyranny,
okay,
in that they've empowered it in the worst ways possible while curtailing it in the worst ways possible.
Yep.
So
both ends of the
president. Yep. So the president can go to war whenever he wants, but can't stop the out of control spending and the corruption.
Jeez.
Basically, Congress has empowered corruption in every aspect.
Well, and both of those things that Tim's talking about are unconstitutional, right? The Congress voted to give President George Bush the authority to decide if he was going to take military action in Iraq, and they did it because it was full of cowards that didn't want to actually vote on whether or not to go to war. The reason we haven't had an official war and we've only had police actions and the war on terror that was carried out under the authorization to use military force, it's because the Congress has been spineless and afraid to actually vote yes or no no on war. If they give the power to the president, which they don't have any constitutional authority to do that, right? The Constitution says Congress declares war. It doesn't say Congress declares war unless Congress is full of chicken shits that don't want to actually vote on it because they're afraid of their constituents, so they can give that power to the president. You can't give that power to the president without a constitutional amendment. But Congress is cowards, and the entire government is lawless. So we need to have the president have his constitutional powers, which is not to execute foreign wars or to engage in foreign wars, but is to fire bureaucrats.
That makes sense. I would like to know, my friend, how do you feel about going over fighting in the desert and us going to war with them, like without the
Really doing that?
How do I feel about fighting in the desert? I feel like it's dry and hot to fight in the desert.
Okay.
If you fight in the jungle, it could be wet, muddy,
Moist.
moist.
Moist. What a nice word.
I don't-
Okay, so yeah, it kind of sucks. That means the last 40-some years, well, shoot, longer than that. We've been running an unconstitutional government
Yeah.
for all of our foreign actions.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Very clearly.
Since the end of World War II.
Yeah.
And so now Donald Trump is trying to bring it all back to sanity.
Love it.
It is remarkable to me that Congress created agencies of the executive branch that operate outside the powers of the president because that's unconstitutional on its face. And now they're arguing it's unconstitutional for Trump to try and assert his constitutional authority as president. It is clear that their intent was to create a deep state bureaucratic machine that operated outside the confines of any branch, and that Trump would try to stop it, they claim, is what's wrong. Well, I say what Trump is doing is what needed to be done a long time ago, and for the first time in my life, we have a real president.
Is that Yuri Bezmenov, that gentleman who said we've been infiltrated many years ago? You think that's the underlining?
I don't know.
And
I don't know.
Some people might. I know.
Yeah.
Former KGB spy Yuri
Yep.
Bezmenov.
Yeah.
I love his work. I think he's spot on about the threat from Russia in particular.
Yeah, I agree. And I would even go further than what Elaad says. I would say that it's from the whole leftist ideology. So it was the KGB and was the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
But after the fall of the Soviet Union, the people that are leftists, the people that believe in communism, the people that believe that is the goal of society, that it is an inevitable march towards a global society with no currency and no property. Those people didn't just go away, and those ideas just didn't go away just because the Soviet Union fell apart. So I think that.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Putin's one of them.
Yeah.
He was a KGB guy.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And he's long lamented the fall of the Soviet Union. There are a lot of people in Russia who feel that the Soviet Union did not have to collapse. And I don't completely disagree. I mean, there are ways to keep people oppressed, but it did. And a lot of these people were pissed off about it and want to bring it back.
I think the Soviet Union's collapse is one of the great American triumphs over communism, and it was a good thing. And we probably should have pushed harder before the CCP became a thing in China. Better to nip it in the bud sooner than later. But
Yeah, I'm
You
not.
can thank the U.S. government for empowering China,
Yes.
enriching them as well.
who was it? Kissinger.
I think Nixon.
Nixon and Kissinger helped open trade relationship.
Why is Wilcox
trying
the
to
new
normalize?
Kissinger then? Why is Steve Wilcox the new Henry Kissinger? He's
Well,
labeled
Henry
as-
Kissinger was viewed as like a realist diplomat who, did he really open China, or just was he not thinking that pretending that Taiwan was how long could we ignore China for before we try to build some sort of relationships with them? As I think it's this realpolitik school of thought, and he was able to accomplish a lot with his sort of diplomacy, especially compared to the people who came after him.
Deng Xiaoping was the I guess I forget, prime minister of China.
At that
What was
time.
The chairman? Yeah, he was the chairman at the time that Nixon went over there. And Deng Xiaoping had a different relationship with Marxist theory than like Mao. So Mao Zedong he believed Marxist theory. He believed that China was a Marxist-Leninist country with Chinese characteristics, whereas Deng Xiaoping believed that he had a saying that was, I don't care if the cat is black or white as long as it catches mice. So he didn't care if it was purely Marxist-Leninist or what type of communist was, as long as it provided for the people and kept the Communist Party in power. And so that's why that's why they opened up markets, and that's why you have things like, like China has massive industry, and they have what looks like markets in China, but they're all controlled by the CCP, by the actual Communist Party. That's why ByteDance has an official CCP representative in their office, like in the building. They have someone that represents the CCP, and they all know that if the CCP says do this, they have to do this, or the CCP will take their property.
We've got breaking news. Trump just signed an executive order terminating all taxpayer-funded benefits for illegal aliens and the end of subsidization of open borders. So that's actually I think, more massive than people realize. What things like TPS and housing, jobs, vouchers. I mean, I'm curious about what's going to happen to these luxury hotels in New York.
I believe also illegal migrants get health care through the city in New York City, if I'm not mistaken.
In Pennsylvania, we did, but you had to be a minor. We would give, no matter who you are, we'd give in Pennsylvania.
Not if you're an American citizen, though.
Oh, no.
You gotta luck.
Yeah, it's very true.
So, and then there's the right to housing laws in New York City, which is why all the migrants had to be housed in these different hotels and whatnot by law. So we'll see how. I'm sure this will go up through the courts.
Why is he doing it so late at night? What's going on? I mean, we got to go super chats.
Bro, what do you mean?
Man.
Yes, the man's working.
He's always working,
Remember when Joe Biden was in office, and they would literally call a lid at 1 PM?
He's running for office, doing lids at
done
9
for
a.m.
the day.
I wish I could do that.
I mean, I kind of do.
Then become president, yeah.
My struggle is to sleep enough, because I used to not sleep because I just don't have time, don't want it.
Yeah.
But now I'm trying to sleep more, and it's actually very difficult. Like, normally I would sleep 6 hours a night, and I hear Trump does too. And my sleep tracker was always like, you're doing great. But now I'm like, I'm going to try and just get more sleep, although my tracker's now saying you can't force more sleep if your body doesn't need it.
You better get in while you can, Tim.
I've been doing about 7 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm getting
I
my
need
sleep.
more than that. I need like 10 hours of sleep per night, which
Well-
after quarantine, I used to get
10 hours is nuts.
I used to go to bed at like 3 a.m.
Women.
and wake up at 3 p.m. And then for like a few years while doing this stuff, like I would get maybe like a total of like 5 hours per night, which is not good.
Women require more sleep than men.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
I think
So I was
that
pretty messed up for a while, as you can probably imagine.
Yeah.
when I moved down here in my apartment, I bought a nice bed, like a really nice mattress, and I sleep for like 9 hours if I don't set an alarm. And I shouldn't be sleeping that long because, as you get older, you're supposed to get less. You're supposed to require less and less sleep. I thought.
Really?
No,
Yeah.
you require more.
That's why grandmas
I thought old people slept less.
they wake up super early, old Grammys. My
They
grandma's-
also go to sleep earlier.
No. So, I'm getting close to 40, and I've got my sleep and health and fitness trackers,
Okay.
and it gives you like a detailed breakdown. And you need more sleep. You have less human growth hormone when you sleep. You get less testosterone when you sleep. So you need to really maximize your deep sleep, which is the first block within the first hour or so. I got a Sleep 8 bed. Amazing. Luke recommended it. Mm-hmm. It's automated temperature control. So it adjusts the temperature to keep you asleep and maximize deep sleep. And then when you wake up, it shows you your REM, light, and deep sleep, and when you're awake, and it maps it out for you. And then based on your sleeping pattern, you can assess what your issues are. And so there's a whole bunch of tricks that it tells you, like you want to maximize deep sleep, you want to get more REM sleep. I bought this thing called the Sleep Sanity. It's like a mask with goggles. It's a weird thing. It's like a blindfold basically, but it's got Bluetooth. And when you go to bed, it has a yellow light. So it simulates sunset, which stimulates melatonin, which gives you better deep sleep. And then when you're about to wake up, it stimulates sunrise. So it naturally wakes you up in the morning so that your hormone levels are all great. Yeah, because humans used to go to sleep when it got dark and wake up when the sun was coming out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to maximize. I'm just trying to make sure I'm doing everything as best as can possibly be done.
Is it too boomer for me to say that we're kind of overcomplicating something as simple as sleep with this?
No, I mean, I just think it's science. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to know why it is. Some days I wake up feeling tired, and some days I wake up feeling great. And I want to make sure every day I feel like I wake up feeling great. And so since I started using the sleep aid bed and the tracker, and there's a bunch of different strategies for the level of exercise you do. Some say have a protein shake before bed. Others say don't drink too much, otherwise you'll wake yourself up. You have to go to the bathroom, and that's bad for your sleep cycles. So there's strategies, but since I've done the basics of it, I've had no bad night's sleep for 5 years or longer. Nice. Yeah. I almost always wake up feeling great, and that's good. Maximum recovery.
Plus, I wake up feeling great just because I woke up breathing. So it's always a benefit to me.
For me, the issue is I work, basically 16-hour days. So
for sure.
When I'm going to bed, if I'm not, if for some reason I'm forced to stay awake, like I have to work till 1 a.m. for some reason, and then I go to bed, I wake up in pain. Like, it's just so hard to work, to think. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.